Amolu there with business news. Up ahead on Good Morning Nigeria is newspaper review.
And our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Tiobe, is in the studio. Good morning, Bayo.
Thank you, Juma.
Good
morning. Good to see you too.
Yeah,
good morning,
Nigeria.
Welcome. Thank you. Yeah. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, let's begin with the Daily Trust newspaper from top to bottom. Why Buhari's directive on cattle routes is necessary, possible. That's by Dr. Momale. On page 3. Gani Adams writes U.S. others over insecurity in Southwest. It's on page 7. Press Council bill reps public hearing may affect press freedom and good governance. That's according to NPN. That's on page 4. Now the lead story on the Daily Trust for this Thursday: 774,000 jobs. Thousands of participants yet to get stipend. With the 3 riders, few receive 1 month allowance instead of 3. We were shortchanged, paid in cash, banks delaying payments, as according to NDE. Now the photo story is that of state-by-state distribution of new polling units as announced by INEC. After 25 years, INEC creates 56,872 new polling units across the nation. It's on page 31. 2023, why Masari opted for retirement. Ganduje active politics. It's on page 31. On page 6, we have gunmen raise Imo lawmaker's house, behead guard. 5 security operatives, many bandits killed in Zamfara. It's on page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Jimmy.
Yes, we now have the Nation newspaper, and just above the masthead, ex-bank MD Atuche jailed 6 years for 25.7 billion naira fraud. The details on page 5. NPAN excluded from NPC bill public hearing. You find that still on page 5. CDS order service chiefs in Borno ahead of Buhari's visit today, as on page 4. Below the masthead, we have Adamawa Senator inaugurates boreholes transformers. You find details on page 27. Presidency, PDP governors seeking more cash to blow. With a rider, they are pressurizing NMPC to fund their profligacy. You find the details on page 4. And we see the picture story there, the resident electoral commissioners in the Southwest with INEC chairman Mahmoud Yakubu there in the picture story. And still on INEC, INEC removes 749 polling units from palaces and mosque, with rider Lagos Kano top in agencies 846,000 new polling units. And at the bottom plate of the Nation newspaper, 73 suspects paraded in Abuja, Kaduna, Rivers orders. Details on page 3. Katsina to prioritize education. You find that on page 27. Bayo.
Thank you, Jume. Let's start with the parading. The operatives of the Nigerian police have smashed a syndicate allegedly to be responsible for vandalizing of rail track in the north central and northwestern part of the country. The coordinate intelligence led to the police to arrest 3 persons and uncover a warehouse in Boku in Benue State. Vandalized rail materials like racks, wear shields, rail pullers, and others were uncovered. The Force Public Relations Officer, CP Frank Mba, added that police also intercepted 3 trucks loaded with vandalized rail items along Ibom Junction in Cross River State. Also paraded were a 6-man armed robbery and kidnapping gang syndicate linked to various criminal activities in Ondo, Ekiti, and other parts of the southwest. They include a 53-year-old man who also supplied arms to that criminal gang. Meanwhile, the Minister of Transportation has revealed that Nigeria has repaid about 150 million out of the 2 billion loan borrowed from China for rail construction. The Honorable Minister of Transportation, Rumituya Amechi, clarified that the federal government has only borrowed for the Kaduna, Abuja, and the Lagos-Ibadan rail lines. The Lagos-Ibadan was for Lagos and Ibadan, 1.5 billion was borrowed. And for the Kaduna, Abuja, the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan borrowed $500 million. But the project was completed by this current administration through budgetary provisions. And so there was no additional borrowing on that. Similarly, at the Itakpe-Warri rail line, this was completed from budgetary allocation without any borrowing. However, the minister says that the contract with the Chinese is being threatened. This is because the House of Representatives had moved a motion and possibly created doubt in the minds of these partners. It says that the House had criticized the loan agreement and calls for a review of the loan during a plenary on 12th of May. And this has caused and there was call also for cancellation of the latest ones. The House Committee Chairman, Nicholas Osai, had alleged that there were dangerous clauses in the loan. And this has caused doubt in the minds of the Chinese partners, and they are very reluctant about it. But in the meantime, the Chinese partners are still in charge driving the rail services, both in the Kaduna, Abuja, as well as the Lagos-Ibadan. However, the Minister of Information clarifies that once the major areas of operation are ticked and clarified, the Nigerians will take over. Let's go to the story that Kirian read about Newspaper Proprietors Association. I think you also read that from the Nation. The Nigeria Newspaper Proprietors Association says the House of Representatives public hearing, which started yesterday over amendment to laws for which it has oversight, is a possibility that it will amend the Press Council law to have serious consequences for freedom of expression. The president of the Proprietors Association, Malam Kabir Yusuf, has called upon media workers and their organizations to pay attention to the hearing. The public hearing notice has been in the public domain. It is an initiative of the House Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Value to amend bills of agencies under its foresight. There are the bills for the NBC, the National Film and Video Censors Board, the Advertisers Practitioners Council of Nigeria, APCON, the Nigeria Interpreters and Translators Guild, and the Nigerian Press Council. The Newspaper Proprietors Association had challenged the constitutionality of the law establishing the NPC as far back as 1999. However, the Court of Appeal ruled that the law establishing the Press Council to regulate the print media is constitutional, and the print media indeed can be regulated. The current review of the bill is to ensure that the Press Council, which has been held in stupor for a long time, can effectively function. And the duty is to use the code of ethics of journalists to hold journalists accountable to what they do. Just as journalists hold everybody in society, as government accountable, yes, they too should be held accountable.
So what is the need for this amendment by the House of Reps?
Well, these laws were passed, some of them as far back as 1992, some of them as far back as 1999. And the tendency is laws need to be updated periodically. And the initiatives come from two ways. Sometimes it comes from the agencies themselves. Other times it comes from concerns expressed by members of the National Assembly. So it can come in as a member's bill or sometimes from a private member's bill.
Okay. All right. Well, we have always been discussing the issue of insecurity in the country. This is 5 security operatives, many bandits killed in Zamfara. I think that the president's pronouncement on taking the war to the bandits is actually yielding fruit, because
positive results.
Exactly, situation where many of them are really taken down. That's a healthy development, if you ask me.
Yes, the Sokoto-Gusau Road, there were threats by bandits and armed robbers who were masquerading and harassing travelers. So a combination of the operatives of the security agencies succeeded in clearing that highway. And so people now have freedom of movement. But there's no gainsaying the fact that the Air Force too has joined, and there is total taking the war to the hideouts of the bandits and kidnappers. And you will recall that, in fact, 2 days ago, there were hues and cry from Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association that some of their cows were killed in the operations. And the Commissioner for Information in Benue State, I remember, had to come with clarification that the operation was between the border between Nasarawa and Benue, and there were no human or animal casualties, according to her.
According to him. All right, this issue of 774,000 jobs issue, where there are complaints that a few receive 1 month allowance instead of 3, and others are saying that they have been shortchanged. It does appear that there are discrepancies, with respect to the implementation of that policy.
Well, it's 774,000 jobs, because it's supposed to be 1,000 per each local government area for each of the 774 local government areas.
Are they supposed to pay allowances or salary?
Well, there is stipends of 20,000 that is supposed to be paid. It's not salary. If it is salary, minimum wage is 30,000 naira.
Yes.
So this is a stipend of 20,000 naira for social construction works, repairing roads, culverts, clearing gutters, and a few other things. The whole initiative is to help youths who unfortunately are idle, they don't have anything to do, to get them at least periodically engaged for those periods for which they can earn something. That will at least induce them into making contributions to their own immediate community and also get something out of it. But it has always, from the outset, it has been dodged by controversy. It was an initiative that was put at the domain of the Nigerian Directorate of Employment, and with the supervision of the Minister of State for Labor and Employment. But there was a disagreement initially with members of the National Assembly, and that caused the delay. But now that it is on, I think they are waiting to get their acts together. People who have worked will eventually get their due, but apparently there are some bottlenecks, and some of them are still demanding that they are owed.
Yes, and INEC is making some changes, with...
Well, INEC has been making changes about polling units, and now the positive initiatives is that certain categories of places which apparently can be susceptible to undermining the electoral processes are now being discounted as polling units. This includes areas of palaces, mosques, and so many other places. As far as acceptable, they now are trying to identify public places as polling units. But INEC has also given indication about elections for Ekiti and Osun. Ekiti now has a date for 8 June 2022, and that of Osun election is 16th of July 2022.
Okay, down to the editorial. It's on the strengthening FDI into Nigeria. Strengthening FDI into Nigeria.
Foreign direct investment. Certainly, foreign direct investment is needed. There's no nation which is an island. If a nation has potential, as Nigeria is greatly endowed, there is a tendency for foreigners to come to want and invest in the country. That will go in a long way in providing employment, in providing succor, and also development. However, we are faced with challenges of insecurity, and no foreign direct investor will want to bring his investment into a place that is not secure. So the critical challenge that we need to do, and for which bold initiatives have now been put in place, is to redress the massive insecurity in the country. We need, as citizens, to help the security agencies, to help them to protect us, so that our environment will be safe, and foreign investors will be encouraged to come and put their money here. Where there is insecurity, there is a general tendency for foreign investment to take flight and leave that economy.
All right, Bayo, we will stop it there. Thank you indeed for your analysis. We hope to see you again tomorrow.
Thank you.
For more on newspaper review.